قرأ سورة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. صراط الذين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه الغر الميامين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى. The first of our salawat in honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The second in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. The third with your loudest voices in honor of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Respected scholars, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Ummulbanin occupies a prominent position within the religion of Islam as being revered as one of the greatest women in Islamic history. A lady whose life has to be examined in depth, for she is a lady from whom many a lesson may be learnt and indeed many an example may be derived. A lady who has unfortunately very much been understudied and underestimated and undervalued within Islamic literature. You find that when it comes to the embodiment of dedication, loyalty, bravery and patience, Ummulbanin occupies the highest of positions within the religion of Islam. And therefore there is a need for us on a night like this to dissect her life in depth in order that we are able to learn as many lessons as are possible from her 60 years on this earth. Because as we know, Ummulbanin was born in the 4th year after Hijrah, and she died on the 13th of Jamadi al-Akhir in the 64th year after Hijrah, meaning she died at the age of 60. You find that her grave is still present in the land of Medina, in Jannat al-Baqi'. Yet even when you look at her grave, you realize how little value this woman is given in this religion. As in, for a lady who sacrificed what she sacrificed in her life, you'd expect her to be given the best of honor, the best of respect. Whereas you go to Jannat al-Baqi', and those of you who Allah has blessed to go there will see that grave as you enter on the left-hand side. That grave which nobody but the followers of Al-Muhammad honor. Therefore, it is vital for us that we examine her life and seek to gain as many lessons as are possible for 2 reasons. The first reason is Ummulbanin highlights for us the culmination in the reform program of Rasulullah in relation to the position of woman. Because we know that when she was born in the 4th year after Hijrah, only 10 or 15 years earlier, daughters were being buried alive in Medina or in Mecca. You found that daughters were being buried alive for different reasons. Some Arabs would bury their daughters alive because they said, these daughters can never help us in our businesses. We have flourishing businesses. We need our daughters to be helping us in these businesses. If they're not, it's better that we just hit them and bury them alive. Other Arabs would say, no, we should hit them because of the fact that in the battlefield they will not help us. A woman, according to them, was not worthy of the battlefield. Another reason they came forward and said, our daughter may end up running away with someone from a tribe we don't like. So you found the Arabs, what would they do? When the daughter was born to them, these Arabs would be willing to bury her alive. Hence the verse in the Quran, وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. The female baby will ask on the Day of Judgment, for what reason was I buried alive? That Arabia, which was at that time, which was willing to bury the female alive, Rasulullah transformed it by bringing a Quran with narratives of great women like Maryam, like Asiya. He gave the examples of Khadija and Fatima. Ummulbanin was the culmination of that work. The transformation of the position of the woman could be seen in her example. That's number one. Number two, many times women in Islam complain that they don't have as many role models as the men do. Find sometimes in our communities, you will find our daughters or our sisters will say to us that, you know what, you have 124,000 male prophets. And we don't have women for us to look up to. We want some woman in Islamic history who we can learn from, who we could say, I want to live by her standard, by her principles. You find that when you dissect the life of Ummulbanin, Ummulbanin can be used as a role model for our own daughters today. As in, our daughters can't complain anymore and say that I never knew about Ummulbanin. When we discuss the lessons from her life and understand her biography, we then have to give this biography to our daughters, our nieces, our sisters. Because I tell you, many daughters who are born into the religion of Islam, many of them, unless they have an example in their life, you will find that their heart may be cultivated by others. That's why there is a need for us to cultivate their hearts with the love of ladies like Ummulbanin. Let's dissect her life in depth. Ask, how is it that Imam came to marry her? Why did she name her sons the names that she gave them? How was her relationship with the family of the Prophet? Why was she not at Karbala? And how did she ensure that the azadari and the memory of Imam al-Hussein remained after Karbala? Let's examine it and dissect the topic and biography in complete depth. As we said, Ummulbanin was born in the 4th year after Hijrah. You found that at the time, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen was already married to Fatima al-Zahra, salawatullah wa salamu alayha. Allahumma salli. Imam, when he was in Medina, the only wife he had at the time was Fatima al-Zahra. As in, who would want to marry when you're married to Fatima? You found that he was married to Fatima al-Zahra 7 years after Ummulbanin was born. In the 11th year after Hijrah, Fatima al-Zahra was killed. Behind the door was pushed on her. She miscarried her baby and she died from the injuries of that martyrdom. You find that some people may come forward and say that Fatima al-Zahra died only out of grief. That, you know, Fatima al-Zahra was sad that she lost her dad and that's how she died. Or that she died out of depression, that's the only way Fatima died. If she died out of grief and she died out of depression, then it would be a normal burial. We'd all know where she's buried, isn't it? As in, it would be easy. If my wife dies of depression or my wife dies of grief, I'll give her an open burial. Everyone come and bury her. When I, until today, do not know where Fatima al-Zahra is buried, it means something definitely happened to that lady, isn't it? As in, I'm surprised when some people come forward and say that Fatima al-Zahra died a very normal death. If she died a normal death, why do we not know where her grave is? As in, every other lady, you know where her grave is. Yet Fatima al-Zahra, until today, ask anyone, where's the grave of Fatima? They cannot tell you. Why? Because they all know very well. Ali ibn Abi Talib knew what had happened to Fatima al-Zahra. And that's why some people later came forward and said, Ali ibn Abi Talib, why didn't he defend his wife? As in, when Ali ibn Abi Talib is married to this lady, and he knows that someone has pushed the door on this lady, why didn't he defend? Ali ibn Abi Talib defended. He went to the person who pushed the door and with his neck put him on the ground. He laid him on the ground and he said to him, were it not for the will of Rasulullah, I'd finish you and all of these off. But my Prophet told me, Ali, remain patient at that time. And we know very well, in the same way he remained patient when they took his leadership at Saqifa, he remained patient also at that time. You therefore found that Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, when she died, naturally she left behind 4 orphans. And these orphans were not older than 7. As in Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein, Sayyida Zainab, and Kulthum. Kulthum, when her mother died, was 1.5 years old. Imagine. Like the rest of them at least saw their mom, could remember their mom, and so on. Kulthum was 1.5 years old. Ali ibn Abi Talib, there is a narration that he's by the grave of Fatima al-Zahra in the middle of the night. In his dream, he sees Fatima al-Zahra saying to him, "O son of Abu Talib, return home. The orphans are alone in the house." These orphans were alone in the house, and Fatima al-Zahra, before she died, in her will, she told Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, she said to him, "I want you to marry my niece Ammar." She had a niece by the name of Ammar. Ammar was the daughter of her sister or her stepsister. And you found that she said to Imam Ali, "Please marry her." Why? Because she loves Hassan and Hussein. She loves Zainab and Kulthum. And I want someone to look after them who loves them. I don't want someone harsh to my orphans. I want someone who's going to protect them. This Ammar, Imam married her first. Then Imam married Khawla bin Ja'far, who gave him a son by the name of Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya could not make it to Karbala, but he was seen as one of the greatest companions of Al-Muhammad. Of course, he was seen as a brother of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. After Khawla bin Ja'far, who did he marry? He married Asma bint Umays. Asma bint Umays originally was married to Ja'far ibn Abu Talib, his brother. When Ja'far died, she married Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr and her had a son, the famous son by the name of Muhammad. The one who would later be known as Muhammad, son of Abu Bakr. You found that Muhammad would be 2 or 3 years old when his dad died. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen looked after Muhammad and raised him. And that's why Muhammad, until the end of his life, would be saying, "My father is Ali ibn Abi Talib." Because he's the one who raised Muhammad. And as you know, Muhammad was killed in the most barbaric way. They killed him, they ripped open a donkey's body, they put him in the donkey's body, they stitched the donkey and burnt it. And the irony is, when you read who did it, until today they say, "Radiyallah an." It's ironic, as in honestly, I don't know which world we live in. Is there a balance scale or there isn't? The killer and the killed, all of them, radiyallah anhum. The killer and the killed. You found after Khawla bin Ja'far, Imam Ali recognized that he wanted to marry another lady in his life. He wanted to marry a lady, but with a particular aim. He could see that the way the Islamic empire was going, if Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein are going to rule one day, or they're going to try, there's going to be certain people who will oppose them, certain people who will try and attack them. So Imam Ali goes to the mosque in Medina, the mosque of his father-in-law. When he enters the mosque in Medina, there used to be 4 men who would sit with prayer mats in front of them. Of these 4 men was his brother Aqil ibn Abu Talib. Aqil would sit there, he's got a prayer mat in front of him. One of these men would come and sit in front of Aqil. You would find someone would come and say, "Aqil, I want to marry someone." "Who do you want to marry?" "I want to marry someone whose family are known for their akhlaq." So he'd tell them, "Come back in a month." He'd say to them, "I'd want to marry someone who's known for their beauty." Aqil would say, "Come back in a month." That day, it was 9 years after Fatima al-Zahra had died. He came, he said to Aqil, "Oh Aqil, I'm looking to marry someone but with certain attributes." He said to him, "Which attributes?" He said, "I'm looking to marry someone whose ancestors are known for being valiant warriors. They are known for their bravery. And I'm also looking for someone who's not just got ancestors who are valiant. You can have someone whose ancestors are valiant but reckless, isn't it? I want someone who's known for their ancestors being valiant warriors, and for their ancestors being patient, and their ancestors being altruistic, willing to give away from themselves." Aqil said to Imam Ali, he said to him, "Come back to me in a month and I'll give you the answer." Came back to him in a month. He said to him, "I found the perfect wife for you." He said to him, "Who?" He said, "Fatima bint Hizam al-Kilabiyah." He looked at him, he said, "Fatima bint Hizam al-Kilabiyah. What is special about her lineage?" He said, "Her ancestors are warriors which none can come near. He said, like whom? He said, oh Ali, have you heard in the genealogies a man by the name of Mula'ab al-Asinna? He said, yes, of course. Mula'ab al-Asinna, I know him well. Mula'ab al-Asinna used to have a hobby. He looks for wild animals. Normally a wild animal looks for you. Mula'ab al-Asinna would look for wild animals. He'd tell them, listen, if you hear of any wild animals, tell me. I want to go and catch it. He said, number one, Mula'ab al-Asinna. He said, okay, who else? He said, Ummulbanin. He said, yes, I know Ummulbanin, ferocious with the sword. Who else? He said, Al-Mulahhal. He said, Al-Mulahhal is from her line? He said, yes. Al-Mulahhal used to say, I don't look for wild animals. Find me a lion. If you find a lion, then leave me with the lion. And if I don't come out scot-free from the lion, then I'm not a man. Well, we're not going to be able to tell you at the end you're not a man, are we? You're probably going to be eaten. But Al-Mulahhal, he would come out, then he said to him, do you know Ammar bin Sa'sa'a? He said, yes. He said, Al-Mulahhal, Ammar bin Sa'sa'a, Abu al-Barra, Mula'ab al-Sinna. He said, each one of these are the ancestors. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen looked at him. He said, very well, let's go and propose. Aqil said, let's go. And you know it was Aqil who took the proposal. Aqil was the one who quickened the marriage of Imam Ali to Fatima al-Zahra. And here likewise Aqil said to his brother, he said, let's go. Because you know Aqil was 20 years older than Imam Ali. Imam Ali looked at him as an elder brother. Aqil took Imam Ali. They proposed Fatima bint Hizam al-Kilabiyya. And you found Aqil was the one who read the nikah of Imam Ali to Ummulbanin. Aqil bought Imam Ali, he bought Ummulbanin, and he said, today I am honored to marry Ali, son of Abu Talib, son of Abdul Muttalib, son of Hashim, and so on, to Fatima bint Hizam, bin Khalid, ibn Rabi'ah. So he looked at him, he said, both of you are now married. As soon as Imam Ali married her, Imam Ali of course highlighted something for us in this marriage. What is it? That Aqil was seen as a matchmaker in the community, wasn't he? Aqil was a matchmaker. Aqil was highlighting that there is a need for matchmakers in the community. Imam Ali could have easily said, no, I don't need anyone to interfere, I'll find myself. No. Imam Ali himself was giving us an indication. If there are people of respect in your community, ask them to find your wife. There's no embarrassment. I, Ali ibn Abi Talib, even asked. My knowledge is what Rasulullah said is the gate. Rasulullah said what? That I'm the city of knowledge, Ali is its gate. But even I, if I'm looking for a wife, there's no harm. Looking for a matchmaker. Today in our communities you find some people saying that let the boys and the girls meet themselves freely in a gathering. Why does it have to be that way? Why don't you have a situation where someone can be a matchmaker? You speak with the matchmaker comes and helps you. And then you talk to each other and you see if you get along. You find therefore that Imam Ali took Fatima bint Hizam. He came towards the house where Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein, Sayyida Zainab, and who? And Kulthum. She said to him, oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, before I enter, there is something I want to say to them. Do you mind or no? He said, no, by all means, you're my wife. These are like your children. Enter and say what you want. As soon as he opened the door, as soon as she entered, she saw Imam al-Hassan, she saw Imam al-Hussein, she saw Zainab, and she saw Kulthum. She looked at all of them. She said, I want to tell each of you something. I am not your mother. I'm your servant. I'm a servant for Al-Muhammad. Do not look at me as being higher than you ever. My role in this world is to honor the Quran. And the Quran tells me, honor Al-Muhammad. And you are my masters and I am your servant. Whatever you want from me, I'll give. And more than that, if I have any children, I dedicate all of them to you. Any child. You see that lady's humility. From the beginning, a 16-year-old, she enters the house. You could have imagined, she could have thought to herself, you know what? I'm the wife of their father, I'll be arrogant with these kids. No. I'm your servant. That's from the beginning. That was the first word she uttered to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. When she saw him, she said, I'm your servant. Whatever you want, I will do in this house. I'm honored to be a servant of this house. And you found that while she was in this house, she had got married. Within 6 years, her first child came. First child of the house. When the first child came, it was Abu Fadl al-Abbas. He came in the 26th year after Hijrah on the 4th of Sha'ban. That's why Abu Fadl al-Abbas was 34 years old on the 10th of Muharram. How old? 34. The second child was who? Was Abdullah. 36th year after Hijrah, 10 years later. The third child, 2 years later, Uthman. 38th year after Hijrah. The fourth child was whom? Was Awn. 40th year after Hijrah, in the year that Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen died. Question arise. Some of these names we need to ask about them, isn't it? As an Ummulbanin, the first question we need to ask, when you named your son Abbas, did you name it with the intention that the name affects his character, or is it what we call a frozen name? You see, in Arabic grammar, what you have? You have a name which is mushtaq and a name which is jamid. A name which is jamid is a name you don't have an intention of the name affecting the character. For example, if I name my son, let's say, for example, I name my son Tree. Salamu alaikum, Tree. I have no intention of the word tree affecting his character. As in, you're not going to say, oh, he's a unbelievably tree. No, no such thing. The name is what? Is jamid. I can name also my son Jawad. Jawad means what? Generous. So when I name my son Jawad, I want him to have the name affect him, isn't it? Or I name my son Kareem. Kareem, for example, is benevolent. I want my son, that name to affect him. When Ummulbanin named Abbas, Abbas, was it with the intention that the name is frozen or that it's an attribute? No, it was an attribute. Abbas means the one who frowns at you when he sees you. You find that if you look in the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Abasa wa tawalla an ja'ahu al-a'ma. He frowned. Abasa, isn't it? Abasa, Abus, Abbas, Abis. All of these give the indication of someone who frowns when he looks at you. When she gave him the name Abbas, you know what was the niyyah? The niyyah was, I want that when he looks at anyone on the battlefield, he frowns, even his frown gets to their soul. And that's why the Imams of Al-Muhammad would say, Abu Fadl al-Abbas, if he looks at you in the battlefield, your soul feels it, not just your body. Your soul feels, this is someone I don't want to come near. One-on-one, never I want to come near him. Number two, Ummulbanin, why did she name her third son Uthman? Someone may argue that politically in Islamic history there's a difference of opinion between different schools of Islam on Uthman. It's noted that there's a difference of opinion about certain aspects of his caliphate. And he had died 2 years before this Uthman was named. Uthman ibn Affan, third Khalifa, died in 36th year after Hijrah. Banin's son Uthman was born 38th year after Hijrah. Someone could easily say that means Imam Ali named his son after the Khalifa. No. Banin named her son Uthman. Why? After Uthman ibn Mad'un. Imam Ali used to say that in the days of Jahiliyyah before Islam, there were only a few Arabs who used to stay away from alcohol even though they were not Muslim. One of them was Uthman ibn Mad'un. Uthman ibn Mad'un, when Islam came, was the 14th convert to the religion. When Islam came and you found he was the 14th convert, Imam Ali said, I used to love him because he was a man of honor before Islam and after Islam. Alcohol did not touch his body. So Imam Ali and Banin named their son what? They named their son Uthman after Uthman ibn Mad'un. Because even someone else tells me, Imam Ali has another son called, or Imam Ali has another son called Omar. Say, how comes he names him Omar? Yes, it's clear. He named him Omar after Omar ibn Muqrin. Omar ibn Muqrin was Salama's son. Imam Ali used to love him. And Imam Ali swore, if I have a son, I'll name him Omar after who? After Omar ibn Muqrin. Therefore, when you find some people today coming and saying, you named your sons Omar, you named your sons Uthman. No, Omar is after Omar ibn Muqrin. Uthman is after Uthman ibn Mad'un. And as the poet says, you blame us about the names that we don't name. How about the question, why did your not caliphs mention the names of Hassan and Hussein as their sons? Anyway, so what you find is that Ummulbanin had these 4 sons with Amir al-Mu'mineen. When they had these 4 sons, the first son was Abbas. When she gave birth to Abu Fadl, the narrations mention, as soon as she gave birth to him, Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hussein, Sayyidah Zainab, Kulthum all entered. When they all entered, the narrations mention that she gave Abbas to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. As soon as Abu Abdullah took Abbas, the narrations mention that Abu Abdullah, as soon as he took Abu Fadl al-Abbas opened his eyes, and the first eyes he saw was Abu Abdullah. First eyes he saw were the eyes of Abu Abdullah. And then when Abu Abdullah finished with the young Abbas, with the baby, he gave it to Sayyidah Zainab. And Sayyidah Zainab then picked up Abu Fadl al-Abbas and she started moving Abu Fadl, oh Zainab, on the 10th of Muharram. She started moving Abu Fadl, she took Abu Fadl and started moving him. So what did you find? You found that Abu Fadl from that young age, the closeness was with all of them, but especially Zainab and Hussein. And I want you all of you tonight to remember this line. His eyes first opened looking at Hussein. At the end, you know where I'm going to go. What then happened was, so he was brought up in the house. Ummulbanin brought up Abu Fadl, and she'd always tell him, if Abu Abdullah is ever thirsty, you have to give him water. You. My son Abbas, I expect from you to look after Hussein. He is your master. And you know what she instilled in from the beginning? Never in your life do I ever want to hear you to say, Akhi Abu Abdullah. Why he would say to her? She said, you have to say, Sayyidi Abu Abdullah. Because Abu Abdullah is not your brother, he's your master. Never do I ever want to hear you say, Akhi. And that's why until the last moments on the 10th of Muharram, he would say, Sayyidi Abu Abdullah. You therefore find what? You found that this close affiliation, Imam Ali would see Hussein, Abbas, Hassan. Imam Ali, 10 years, 11 years after Abu Fadl al-Abbas was born, Imam Ali faced one of the major crises in his caliphate, the Battle of Siffin. And at that battle, Ummulbanin, you know what she said to Imam Ali? She said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, you're taking Imam al-Hassan, you're taking Imam al-Hussein, take Abu Fadl with you. He said, come along, young man, come along. You come with me. He's 10, 11 years old. Muawiyah at the Battle of Siffin, you know what he did? Muawiyah at the Battle of Siffin knew Ali ibn Abi Talib had annihilated the opposition at the Battle of Jamal. Because Ali ibn Abi Talib at the Battle of Jamal, Ammar ibn Yasir one side, Malik al-Ashtar the other. These were ferocious warriors. At Siffin, Imam had the same warriors. Muawiyah bought Ibn Shasa' or Ibn Shasa'. Ibn Shasa' had 7 sons. And this Ibn Shasa', Muawiyah had said to him, listen, Ali, son of Abu Talib, you think you can face him one-on-one? He said, forget face him one-on-one. My sons will finish Ali ibn Abi Talib off. So he looked at him, he said, very well, bring all of your sons. He came, he had 7 sons. And he looked at the opposition army on the day of Siffin. And he looked at them and he said, each one of you, you think you can come near me or my sons? Where's the son of Abu Talib? Let him come out and fight. And you know in the Battle of Siffin, the first man to want to come out and fight, but he had to be stopped by Imam Ali, was Imam al-Hassan. Imam Ali said to him, wait. Imam al-Hassan looked at his father, he said, I'll finish them by myself. Let me out on all of them. Imam al-Hassan, as a warrior, is a ferocious warrior. But history meant that he wasn't necessarily able to show that in the war. Imam al-Hassan, Imam Ali told him, listen, after me, you've got to be leading this religion. Stay here. And Imam al-Hassan held back. Ibn Shasa' said, Ali, son of Abu Talib, come out, fight me. Imam Ali looked around, he saw Abbas. And Abbas was 10, 11 at the time. He said to him, young man, are you ready? He said to him, Dad, I'm ready. He said, very well, put on your mask. So he puts on his mask. He says to him, now you go out, they're going to think that you're me. Number one, because of your height. Remember, Mula'ab al-Asinna, Abu al-Barra, Ammar ibn Sa'sa, these were all tall men. He took the height from his mum's side. Because sometimes people say, how can he be on a horse and his feet touch the ground? You see his mum's ancestry. Imam Ali didn't just say to Aqil, find me people, 6 foot, 6'1". I want you to find me men who, when you look at them, you're like, that's a man. That's a soldier. Of course, not being that tall does not mean you're not a man. No, of course. But you find that he said to them, at that moment, what did he say? He said, Abbas, get ready. Abbas put the mask on. He came out on the battlefield. Ibn Shasa said, son number 1, go and finish him. Son number 1, finished. Son number 2, go finish him. Finished. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He then looked, he said, very well, you've killed my sons, O Ali, then I have to kill you. He came out and he killed him. The opposition army said, Ali bin Abi Talib, show your face. All of a sudden, Imam Ali came from the back of the army on a horse. So the opposition was like, then if it's not Ali ibn Abi Talib, then who was that? And Imam Ali had told Abbas, he said to him, Abbas, do not tell anyone who you are until I give you permission. So he looked at him, he turned around to his dad, he said, Dad, shall I say who am I? He said, no, don't say. They said, name yourself. Don't say. Name yourself. He turned around to his dad said, tell them who you are. He removes the mask slowly and he says, Ana Qamar Bani Hashim, Abu Fadl al-Abbas. I'm the moon of Bani Hashim, Abu Fadl al-Abbas. Their reply was fascinating because these guys would have poetry in the battlefield. Even in Karbala, you'd exchange poetry. They said to him, but Abbas, there are 2 moons in Muhammad's army already. And he replied by saying, they are the sons of Muhammad. I am the son of Ali. It's the role of the sons of Muhammad to protect the sons of Ali. It's the roles of the sons of Ali to protect the sons of Muhammad. Then he said, I am the hands and they are the eyes. It's the role of the hands to protect the eyes. You therefore found Abu Fadl introduced himself in that battle. And his mother, without a doubt, was proud of him when she heard of the news that Abu Fadl defended his father and he defended Imam al-Hassan, defended Imam al-Hussein. It was a source of pride for her, and it was a source of pride for Amir al-Mu'mineen. And that's why the narrations mention that Imam Ali was saddened. Imam Ali, when he was dying, when the poison surrounded his body after Abdul Rahman ibn Muljam hit him, Imam Ali was lying on his bed. Just before he died, he called everyone. He called Imam al-Hassan. He said, Imam al-Hassan, come and sit next to me. He called Imam al-Hussein. He said, Imam al-Hussein, come here. You have to look after Imam al-Hassan. Zainab, come here. You have to look after Imam al-Hassan. Kulthum, come here. You have to look after Imam al-Hassan. He began to name all of them. Ummulbanin came walking to Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. She said, oh Imam, Abbas is sad. He's crying. Imam said, why is he crying? What's wrong? Abbas was on that day about 13 years old. So why is he crying? He said, you gave every one of your children a responsibility, but you never gave him. He feels maybe he's saddened you, maybe he's hurt you. Has he done something wrong to you? He said, no, call him, bring him to me. He said, Abbas, the apple of my eye, come next to me. He came, he said, I told all of them to look after Imam al-Hassan. That's their responsibility. Abbas, you look after the stranger of Karbala. Your role is to look after whom? To look after Abi Abdullah. Wherever Imam al-Hussein is, you go to. He said, Dad, I'll be there for him at every moment. Wherever he goes, I'll be next to him. I'll look after him. I'll make sure nothing happens to him. And you found that after Amir al-Mu'mineen died, Abu Fadl al-Abbas, when he wanted to get married, Ummulbanin, of course, was now living with them. When Abu Fadl al-Abbas was getting married, he asked his mom, who should I marry? She said, you ask me while Abu Abdullah is alive. Who am I to come in the way of Abu Abdullah? Ask him. He went to Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah said to him, marry Zakiya, the daughter of Fadl, the daughter of Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib. He married Zakiya. From Zakiya, he had 2 sons. One son he had was called Fadl, hence Abul Fadl. Another son he had was, that child who when Ummulbanin hears about Karbala, she drops the child? That was called Ubaidullah. You found that he had those sons, and you found that Imam al-Hussein mentioned something very interesting, that when Imam Ali looked for a wife in Ummulbanin, the first characteristic was bravery, yes? Second characteristic, patience. When Imam al-Hassan was killed, Abu Fadl al-Abbas had to have a patience which was unbelievable. Because you know in ziyarah, what do we say? Ni'ma al-mujahid al-sabir. Isn't it? Ni'ma, that blessed soldier who is patient. Because when he saw Imam al-Hassan, you know Imam al-Hassan in his will said, bury me next to my grandfather Rasulullah. But certain people, because of their jealousy of Imam al-Hassan, they ordered Imam al-Hassan's grave to be taken away from his grandfather and for arrows to be launched on the grave of Imam al-Hassan. Abu Fadl al-Abbas, you know when he saw this? Abu Fadl al-Abbas straight away when he saw this, he told Imam al-Hussein, leave me against them, each one of them. Imam al-Hussein looked at him, he said, Abu Fadl, you are a man of patience. You have that from your mother, there'll be a day when I'll let you go. But today, remain patient. That was number two. Number three, he wanted the altruism from Ummulbanin. Sometimes we don't realize the importance of our mothers and the characteristics we inherit from them, isn't it? You found Ummulbanin had altruism. She'd give herself away so that Hussein remains in blessed peace. Isn't it? You found that Imam Zayn al-Abidin salawatullah wa salamu alayh. Allahumma salli. Imam Zayn al-Abidin says, Rahimallah ammi al-Abbas. Laqad athara wa fada wa wasa akhahu bi nafsih. فأعطاه الله جناحين عوض يديه كما صنع لجعفر ibn Abi Talib. Listen to the words of Imam Zayn al-Abidin about the altruism of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. He says, Allah has placed mercy on Abu Fadl al-Abbas, for he sacrificed and he gave away and he gave his life in honor of his brother. So Allah gave him wings instead of his hands, like he gave to Ja'far ibn Abu Talib. Notice, what does the hadith say? Athara wa fada wa wasa akhahu bi nafsih. Do you know what bi nafsih means? Bi nafsih means that he sacrificed by giving his self away to his brother. Ala nafsih. Had the hadith said ala nafsih. Ala nafsih means, you know what, my brother, I'm willing to send my sons for you. Bi nafsih means not my sons, I'm willing to die for you. If it means then my body has to go. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin said, Allah, because of Abu Fadl al-Abbas' sacrifice, Allah gave Abu Fadl al-Abbas wings instead of the hands that he lost, like he gave to Ja'far ibn Abu Talib, his uncle. Ja'far, the brother of Imam Ali, died in the battle of Mu'tah. In the battle of Mu'tah, Ja'far, Zayd and Abdullah ibn Rawaha, they were killed in that battle on the borders of Jordan. When they were killed, Ja'far, do you know how he was killed? The uncle of Abu Fadl al-Abbas, and this is how history repeats itself. Ja'far, how was he killed? They came, he was fighting, they cut his right hand. When they cut his right hand, he tried to hold the flag in his left hand. They cut his left hand. So then he tried to hold the flag with what was left until they killed him. When Asma heard Ja'far had been killed, she became sad. Rasulullah said, do not worry, O Asma. Ja'far ibn Abu Talib, in the heavens, Allah has replaced his hands with wings. Hands with wings, does it mean that Ja'far flies like an angel? No. In Arabian poetry, the angels are majestic. So Imam Zayn al-Abidin was saying that when we say Ja'far flies with wings, it means because of the sacrifice he gave in this world, Allah wanted his majesty to be even higher than the angels of the heavens. Not that Ja'far was flying, no, but that wings indicate majesty. Likewise, because of the hands Abu Fadl gave away, you would find that Abu Fadl, the narrations mentioned to us, Allah replaced his hands with wings. Ummulbanin, therefore, having seen Imam al-Hassan killed, seen Imam Ali killed, now sees Abi Abdullah al-Hussein about to leave Medina. Why doesn't she go with them to Karbala? One opinion is Abu Abdullah had a daughter called Fatima al-Sughra. This Sughra was ill. She couldn't make it to Karbala. And this Sughra would bid farewell. Oh my uncle Abbas, I can't wait to see you when you come back. Oh my uncle Ali, oh my brother Ali al-Akbar, I can't wait to see you. She expected all of them to return. Ummulbanin, what did she do? Ummulbanin stayed behind. When she stayed behind, the narrations mention that she stayed behind. She looked after Sughra, and she also looked after Abu Fadl al-Abbas's kids, which he had from his wife Zakiyah. That child, Ubaidullah, as a grandma, she said, I'll stay behind. I'll look after your children. And Aba Abdullah was leaving Medina, and she looked in the eyes of Abu Fadl. And she said to him, Abu Fadl, look after him, protect him. This man, I always think of his mother, Fatima. How Ummulbanin? You see, we said her name was Fatima. Now we're saying her name is Ummulbanin. She's the one who told Imam Ali, change my name from Fatima to Ummulbanin. Imam Ali said to her, why? She said, whenever I hear you say Fatima, I see tears come down. And I can't bear to hurt you. So call me Ummulbanin. Ummulbanin means the mother of the sons. She told Abbas, she told Ja'far, she told Uthman, she told Abdullah, look after Abi Abdullah. Protect him. And also look after Sayyida Zainab. Don't let anyone touch Zainab. Look after Kulthum. I've seen them since they were kids. I can't bear to hear that anyone's hurt them. And those warriors went out towards Karbala. Ummulbanin remaining behind in Medina. After the 10th of Muharram, she kept on waiting and waiting. She was wondering, is there any news from Karbala? She would say. She'd keep saying, does anybody have any news from Karbala? People say, we don't know anything. Any news from Karbala? We have not heard anything. Any news from Karbala? There is no news from Karbala. If you ever find out what's happened at Karbala, tell me. Until Bishr ibn Hadlam came to Medina. When he was in Medina, he called out, we have news from Karbala. Which news? Which news do you have from Karbala? Everyone gathered. He said, we have news about martyrdoms at Karbala. People have died. All of a sudden she said, tell me about Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. What's the news about him? Notice, who does she ask about first, brothers and sisters? She first asks, tell me about Aba Abdullah. Ummulbanin, why don't you ask about Abu Fadl? Because Hussein has no mother to cry for him. I want to ask about Abi Abdullah. So he looks at her, he says, who are you? She says, I am Ummulbanin. Do you know the first thing he says to her? May Allah reward you for the death of your son, Ja'far. She looked at him, she said, tell me about Aba Abdullah. He said to her, may Allah reward you for the death of your son, Abdullah. She said, tell me about Aba Abdullah. Said, may Allah reward you over the death of your son, Uthman. She said, tell me about Aba Abdullah. Then that line that hurts the most. He looked at her, he said, may Allah reward you over the death of your son, Abbas. She dropped the child of Abu Fadl on the ground. There was a pain in her. She fell down on the ground. She then looked up. She said, I beg you, tell me about Aba Abdullah. Ummulbanin, Abbas is dead. No, my life is Aba Abdullah. My sacrifice is Aba Abdullah. The man then told her about Aba Abdullah. You know the house, the first house she went to? She went to the house of Sayyida Zainab. She knocked at the door. She knocked at the door. When she knocked at the door, the narrations, what do they mention? The narrations mention that when she knocked at the door, Bibi Fadda answered. May Allah allow you the ziyarah next to Fadda, the servant of Al Muhammad. Bibi Fadda answered. Bibi Zainab had said to Bibi Fadda, don't let anyone enter our house. Keep this for the family. As soon as Bibi Zainab knocked at the door, as soon as Ummulbanin knocked at the door, Bibi Fadda came to Bibi Zainab. She said, it's Ummulbanin. She said, tell her to come in quickly. She is the family. And they began to embrace each other. Zainab saying to her, may Allah reward you about Abu Fadl al-Abbas. And Ummulbanin telling her, just tell me about Aba Abdullah, please. What did they do to Aba Abdullah? And she'd say to her, I saw shimmer on the chest. I saw shimmer and I called out, I beg you don't. And I saw a dagger come out. And I saw Abu Abdullah's legs moving. You know when someone is cutting your neck, your legs involuntary move. She said to her, I saw shimmer sitting on the chest of Abu Abdullah. Ummulbanin was crying and crying. And you know what the narrations mention? Please listen to this point. The narrations mention, after she heard the news, she began reciting majalis in honor of Imam al-Hussein. She began reciting poetry in honor of Imam al-Hussein. Brothers and sisters, never ever stop ensuring that the majalis of Al-Muhammad continue, because that's your sacrifice for Ummulbanin. Never stop the matam in honor of Al-Muhammad. Don't stop any of the azadari. Anyone who tells you that you should stop, never, keep going. Because that lady never stopped, and if she didn't stop, then who am I to stop? And in your donations and your honoring, keep any majlis alive. I heard before this majlis, I heard the speech, $72 each person to keep Ummulbanin's name alive. Is it much? She gave 4 sons, we need to give $72. Is that the same? Ummulbanin gave those sons and we're still alive. Surely we have to keep Abbas's name alive with our money so that an institution like this, with the majalis like this, continues to remain alive. Ummulbanin taught us never stop the majalis of Al-Muhammad. She would recite majalis. Do you know where? She'd recite majalis by Jannatul Baqi'. It's as if she'd sit by the grave of Imam al-Hasan and recite majalis there. To the extent that Marwan ibn al-Hakam, with all his heart of hatred, even he'd cry when he'd hear her. And you know what one narration mentions? Do you know what she would do when she recites a majlis? She'd come with the sand and she'd make 5 small domes. They said to her, Ummulbanin, why 5 domes? You only lost 4 sons. She said, the 5th is Abu Abdullah. That's my son. And I look at each of these domes and I remember not just my sons, I remember Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. But there's one particular moment, brothers and sisters. Do you know, it's narrated that Imam Zayn al-Abidin heard Ummulbanin is crying about everyone, but when Abbas is mentioned, she wasn't crying. Imam Zayn al-Abidin came towards Ummulbanin. When he came towards her, the narrations mention that when he came towards her, he said to her, oh Ummulbanin, I hear that you're not crying for Abbas, you're crying for everybody else but not Abbas. Why? She said, I don't believe my Abu Fadl would have let Abu Abdullah down. There's no way he would have let him down. I'm sure he would have looked after him. Imam Zayn al-Abidin looked towards her. He said, shall I tell you what your Abu Fadl did? Do you want to know what he did? I'll narrate to you what we saw so you know what he did. We saw him walk towards the battlefield, but he went towards the Furat. We saw that when he went towards the Furat, we saw soldiers come to attack him, but he warded them off. We saw him come to the water. He picked up the water, and when he picked it up, he looked at it and he said, oh water, how can I drink from this cold water when my brother is gonna, when my master is gonna drink from the syrup of death? Oh Ummulbanin, after that, what did we see? Oh Ummulbanin, after that we saw Abu Fadl come back to his horse. Oh Ummulbanin, after that, what did we see? Oh Ummulbanin, after that we saw Abu Fadl ride his horse. Oh Ummulbanin, after that what did we see? We saw a man strike the right hand of Abu Fadl when he was on his horse. May Allah bless those tears. We saw a man strike the right hand of Abu Fadl when he was on his horse. Oh Ummulbanin, your son tried to hold on to the flag, with his left hand, but Ummulbanin, they struck his left hand as well. Ayatollah al-Nayini narrates, I gave the majlis of Abu Fadl al-Abbas at Karbala. He said, after I gave the majlis of Abu Fadl al-Abbas, I went home, and when I went home, I went to sleep, and in my dream I saw Fatima al-Zahra. When I saw Fatima al-Zahra, he says, I saw her crying and crying and crying. I said to her, oh my lady, have I made a mistake in the majlis? Have I made a mistake? She said, no, you haven't. He said to her, then, oh my lady Fatima, why do you cry? Why do you cry? Why do you cry? She said, oh Ayatollah al-Nayini, I cry because I remembered Abu Fadl al-Abbas when I heard you recite, oh Fatima, if you are with us tonight, oh Fatima, if you are with us tonight, answer our prayers. Oh Imam Sahib al-Zaman, if you are with us tonight, I ask you to give us patience when we remember Abu Fadl. She said to him, but oh Ayatollah al-Nayini, I want you, whenever you recite the Masa'ib of Abu Fadl al-Abbas, to remember one line in particular. He said to her, what is it, my lady? She said, normally when someone is on a horse, when they fall from the horse, their hands normally are in front of them when they fall. My Abu Fadl, when he fell from the horse, he fell on the ground without any hands to protect him as he fell. May Allah bless every Azadar. May Allah bless every lover of Abbas. May Allah give you the ziyarah of that shrine in Karbala. Oh Ummulbanin, I saw Abbas fall, and when he fell they began to come towards him and they began to hit him. Oh Ummulbanin, they began to hit him one after another, one after another, one after another. Oh Ummulbanin, I know how much you love Abu Abdullah. Oh Ummulbanin, I know how much you love Sukaina, Sukaina. Ummulbanin, I want to tell you something. Sukaina told us it was Abbas who fell. Oh Ummulbanin, shall I tell you how Sukaina told us? She was on the shoulders of her auntie Zainab. She turned around to her auntie Zainab. She said, oh my auntie Zainab, I think my uncle is on the ground. My auntie Zainab said to her, oh Sukaina, how do you know? She said, oh my auntie Zainab, I see the flag is falling, and I'm sure he's on the ground. He said, oh Ummulbanin, then I saw Abu Abdullah running to Abu Fadl's body when he lay on the ground. I'm coming to it now. I know where you want me to go. I saw Abu Abdullah, I saw my dad while I was ill. I saw my dad running to Abu Fadl. But oh Ummulbanin, I saw my dad stop. I wondered, why has my dad stopped on his way to Abu Fadl? My dad came off his horse because his horse stopped. When my dad came off the horse, he saw one of the hands of Abu Fadl al-Abbas on the ground. Ya Abu Abdullah, how did you have the patience when you saw the hand of your brother? Oh Ummulbanin, oh Ummulbanin, he continued, then his horse stopped again, his horse stopped again, it stopped again. I wondered, why was the horse stopping? My father came down, he saw the left hand of Abu Fadl. It was now, Abu Abdullah knew now. He knew, he could see hands on the ground. Abu Abdullah came towards the body of his brother, Abu Fadl al-Abbas. Abu Fadl couldn't see because the arrow of Harmala had struck the eyes of Abu Fadl. Imagine you saw your brother without any hands and you then see that his eyes are blood. Now Abba Fadl doesn't know who's come near him. All he hears is footsteps. He says, I beg you, oh man, whoever you are, I beg you, do not hit me. I want to bid farewell to my master, Abba Abdullah. But then he knew, because Abba Abdullah came and slowly lifted Abu Fadl's head. Abba Abdullah, the poets narrate this beautifully. They say, listen to the exchange between Abba Abdullah and Abu Fadl. Oh Abu Fadl, from the day that you were born, I loved you when I saw your eyes in front of me. Oh Abu Fadl, Habib called me, Muslim called me, Hur called me. Habib said Hussein, Muslim said Hussein, Hur said Hussein, whereas Hussein says Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Oh Abu Fadl, forgive me that I couldn't be there for you when you lay on the ground. Listen to the reply. Oh my master Abba Abdullah, forgive me that I will not be there to protect you. Oh my master Abba Abdullah, I beg you, don't tell my mother that I wasn't there for you. Oh my master Abba Abdullah, I ask you for one more thing. I beg you, tell Sukaina I'm sorry. She said to me, get me some water. Abba Abdullah, I feel embarrassed. Don't take my body back. How can I show my face to Sukaina? But ya Abba Abdullah, tell Zainab I'm sorry. Tell Zainab I pray that no one touches her hijab. Tell her I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I will not be there for you. But this last line is difficult to narrate. But every lover of Abbas, this last line is for you. Abba Abdullah, Abba Abdullah, when I was born, my eyes looked at yours. Abba Abdullah, it hurts me that when I die, the blood doesn't allow me to see your face. MashaAllah. He then moved his head from the lap of Hussein. Ya Abbas, he looked at him and he said, oh Abbas, why do you remove your head from my lap? Listen to the line. Ya Abba Abdullah, I remove my head because now my head is on your lap, whereas in a few moments, where will your head be, Ya Abba Abdullah? I say to him, Ya Abbas, I say to him, Ya Abbas, had you seen Shimr sitting on the chest of Abi Abdullah? It's as if when Shimr was on the chest, Zainab called out, Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Abba Abdullah left his body because that was his request. Do you know when they returned to Karbala, then after Karbala they went to Medina, the narrations mention that in Medina, when Ummulbanin heard the way Imam Zayn al-Abidin described it, Ummulbanin, the narrations mention there were 5 women who ordered that all the roofs from their houses are removed. Layla, Rabab, Zainab, Ramla and Ummulbanin. A man came towards Ummulbanin. He came to Layla, he came to Rabab, he came towards Zainab, and he came to Ramla. He said to them, why is it you want your roofs removed from the top of the house? Listen to Ummulbanin's reply. She said, how can I have a roof covering me from the sun when Abu Abdullah's body was burnt by that same sun? How can I have a roof covering me when my son Abbas laid by the Furat with the sun burning his body? How can I have a roof covering me when Fatima al-Zahra's son lay alone on the ground with no one to look after him? Then she looked at Imam Zayn al-Abidin. She said, oh Zayn al-Abidin, I knew my Abbas would protect Hussein. But do you know why I didn't cry? Because Hussein had no one to cry for him. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us with Muhammad and Al Muhammad. May Allah bless those tears. These tears will speak for us on the day of judgment. Ya Allah, allow us to see Fatima al-Zahra when she brings the hands of Abu Fadl al-Abbas on the day of judgment. Allow us to visit the grave of Abu Fadl al-Abbas in the land of Karbala. Brothers, may Allah bless you to go near the shrine of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all our brothers around the Islamic world. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows this mosque with the donations of the generous people to be a mosque which honors Ummulbanin. Brothers, on a night like this, remember Ummulbanin. Give in the name of Ummulbanin. Say, Ummulbanin, what you gave to us, we're giving back to you, and it'll never be enough. But what a campaign. 72 in honor of 72. And if you can give more, give more. Allow this mosque to remain a place where Ahlul Bayt are honored. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the Surah Al-Fatiha. But before it, the loudest of your salawat.